Alrighty, so the next thing we're going to move on to in our 11.2 notes is discussing the types of sampling that we might encounter as we look at some statistical studies. So the first type of sampling we're going to look at is called stratified sampling. With a stratified sampling, you're organizing people into homogeneous groups. So that means groups where people have something in common with each other. So you might organize people into groups like males and females. You might break people into groups like freshmen, sophomore, junior, seniors, something of that nature. And then a few individuals from each group are a part of your sample. So you're breaking people into groups because they have something in common or because you know something about them. And that's how you're breaking them into the groups. And then a few individuals from each group are part of the sample. So what I like about your book is it did give little pictures, and I think these are super helpful so you can kind of see what's going on. So in this picture off to the side that I just circled, we have two groups of people. So that maybe they were grouped male and female, hard to tell, but so let's say the left side is male, the right side is female, and then a few individuals from each group are part of the sample is your stratified sampling. So like the blue people were picked out of this group. An example of this is ASB breaking students up by grade level, like breaking people up by freshmen, sophomore, juniors, and seniors, and then picking students from each of those categories to participate in our rally games. So that is something that our ASB students do every time we have a rally, which hopefully we will still be able to have another one this school year. But that is stratified sampling. Cluster sampling is pretty similar but still different. So I definitely want you to see the difference in the pictures for sure. So in cluster sampling, you're still breaking people into groups, but the groups are completely random. So the people in the group should not have any distinct characteristic in common. The small groups are supposed to be small representations of the entire population. And those are called clusters, which is why it's called cluster sampling. And then one group or one cluster is used to represent the entire population. So an example of this might be to get freshman students' opinions on college cafeteria food. Instead of looking at every single dorm, because that would take so much time, you're just going to survey every person in one dorm on campus because freshmen are randomly placed in dorms. So if you ask students in one dorm how they feel about the cafeteria food, you could then assume that that was a random enough sample to generalize to the entire population. So again, here is the picture for cluster sampling. The blue people would be then the people that you're surveying, and the green are just other people in the population. The next one I want to talk about is systematic sampling. So in systematic sampling, a sampling method, it chooses individuals based on a rule, like every nth individual in the population, like every second, every third, every fifth, every ninth, every 100th individual in the population is the person that you're going to ask. So a lot of times for this, you'll use some sort of software to like number people, or another example of systematic sampling is using like a random name generator, like pulling names out of a hat where you have no idea who you're picking. So this is what a picture of systematic sampling would look like. Here it looks like if we count left to right, it's every third person they've asked to be a part of the sample. So in my example over here, a teacher asked every fifth grade student if they understand what every fifth student, sorry, not every fifth grade. That wouldn't make any sense. I apologize. Every fifth student. A teacher asked every fifth student if they understood what they learned today in class. So the teacher's not going to ask the whole class. They're just going to ask every fifth student and assume that the students that they aren't asking also had similar experiences. The last two sampling methods, notice they do have stars next to them. In the next video, I'll explain why they have stars next to them and what those stars mean. But this next type of sampling is called convenient sampling. So I bet you can guess why it's called convenient sampling. It's somewhat straightforward. So you're choosing individuals to participate in your sampling based on how easily accessible they are. So in this picture on the left, you're the red person, and you're going to pick all the blue people because they're the closest to you. So obviously that's super easy, right? Super convenient. An example of this might be a teacher asking students in the front row if they can see the board. It's super convenient for me to just like lean over to my front row students and ask them if they're getting things, if they like their seats, all that kind of stuff. But that's not necessarily a good representation of the entire student population in the room. So that is one other type of sampling. And the final type of sampling that we're going to be talking about is self-selected sampling. So in this sampling method, the individuals that take part in it actually volunteer to be part of the study. So one example of volunteering is like you're not really being forced to do it, I would say. So to make it super relevant to you, I came up with this example. I really hope you appreciate it. An Instagram poll asks you what the influencer should be doing to stay busy. Should they be making TikToks or watching YouTube videos? Now, most of you, I assume, have Instagram and know, like, you don't have to answer the polls, right? You can just click through their stories and be done. But this would be one example of a self-selected sampling method, because if you care or if you're bored and want to participate in the survey, you're more than welcome to, but you don't have to by any means. So here's a picture of that. You have an entire population, and just some people that decide they want to be a part of it are a part of the sampling method. So those are the sampling methods we are going to be focusing on this year in Algebra 2. If you stick with me for statistics next year, we will learn a couple others, but these are the main sampling methods.